You too, thank you.
Now, what is Britain's place in the world in these times? That is what the British Foreign Policy Group has been trying to find out in its annual Public Attitudes Report, which looks at what the public think of our enemies, our allies, and Britain's role in the world. We can talk to David Landsman, the former diplomat and executive chair of the organisation. Hi to you, David.
Good afternoon.
Hi. It's an interesting set of findings here, David. Just take us through some of the ones that really stand out.
Yeah, sure. This is the 8th time we've done this annual survey, so it's building into a unique national resource for tracking how public opinion changes. I think one thing that's quite interesting is people are more concerned now. They feel less secure in general than they did last year. They feel less engaged in foreign policy, less confident that they understand it. And that's quite interesting because those trends had been going in the other direction.
Yes.
We conclude from that just foreign policy is just getting so complicated. There isn't just one goodie and one baddie. There's lots of different forces and different things to understand.
Yes.
Really interesting that trust in the US has fallen to 27% of people saying they trust the US to act as responsibly in the world, and that's down from 53% only 2 years ago. At the same time, people see the US still as our most important ally, so it's a complicated picture.
Yes.
People trust Europe to act responsibly much more than they did a few years ago. Even Leave voters trust Europe more to act responsibly. But the feeling we get is that's kind of not just, it's not just a feeling of love. It's a bit of a feeling of being on the rebound from the relationship with the US. It's pull as well as push, or push as well as pull.
Yes.
And when we ask about trade-offs, would you like a closer relationship with Europe if it means youth mobility? Yes. If it means fewer fish quotas, the answer is no. So it's still a very mixed picture. There's a lot of work to do for anyone who wants to persuade the British people to get closer to Europe.
Yeah, that pattern of wanting your cake and eat it when it comes to Europe. But also about Russia. Interesting disparity between the views on Russia between generations. Older people more likely to see Russia as a threat than younger people. And maybe that has something to do with memories of the Cold War, but there's no shortage of information and evidence now that Russia is a threat.
Absolutely, but I think you're right. I think people of, dare I say, your generation and mine have recollections of the Cold War, which younger people don't. I think what was really interesting, if you look at China, if you look at the youngest age group that we look at, up to age of 25, more people in that group distrust the US than distrust China.
Yes.
And that really says something quite interesting. And I think it whether it's disturbing or just challenging, I think it's something that people of my generation really have to think about.
Yeah.
And we've also done some really interesting research which perhaps points to the reasons why that's the case.
So what do you conclude from that? Has it something to do with the fact that America and President Trump are constantly in the news, whereas President Xi and China much less so?
It may be a bit of that. I think the really most interesting statistic in this research, and those of our generation will know the idea that the answer to the life and everything is 42. Well, 42% of young people 18 to 25s say that they get most of their foreign policy news from TikTok.
Yes.
Whereas it's about 1% of those aged over 65. I'd love to meet that 1%.
Yes.
But 42% get their news from TikTok. That's why they hear a lot of different things, whether it's all because China controls TikTok or whether it's just because there's a different range of influences and influencers on there. But this is a real challenge, I think, for governments and for the foreign policy world. How do you engage with that? How do you understand it? So there's an awful lot of work to do on that.
And so interesting to get your take on this. David Landsman, the Executive Chair of the British Foreign Policy Group. Thank you for joining me on the programme this afternoon.
Thank you.
Now, after 6 o'clock...